This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions, www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Patricia W. Fisher with Readers Entertainment Radio, and it is Caffeine Awareness Month, which I'm sure if any of you follow me on social media, you know I'm very much in love with coffee, and I'm always aware of it. It's also Women's History Month, so if you've got someone that you want to learn more about, please do. Please investigate. There are fantastic, fantastic stories out there. It's Girl Scout Week. So Girl Scout cookies are out and about, which is always good. And I have two personal things to say today. So one is it's my 21st wedding anniversary, but it's also the 22nd year of our first date. And my husband, being very organized and an engineer, made sure that he didn't have a lot of dates to have to remember in our relationship. So he made sure that we got married a year to the day of our first date. So happy anniversary, my dear. And one of my very good friends, Leslie, who is an emergency room nurse in Dallas, I wanted to give her a big happy birthday today. And it's also COVID-19 Global Pandemic Day, which is delightful to share with my anniversary date, but it is what it is, and we will just keep on moving forward. And one of the things that a lot of people have done this past year is read a lot more. And there have been a lot of writers that have come up with some amazing, amazing stories. And one of those writers is here with me today. She has her debut novel, but it is not her first time she's written. Honey Parker has co-authored several business books and written and sold several screenplays, which, per Hollywood tradition, are circling various levels of that place known as development hell. Honey is a veteran advertising writer and creative director for big agencies in New York and Los Angeles, and she eventually co-founded her own creative shop in Park City, Utah. Somewhere in the middle of all that, Honey began doing stand-up comedy in clubs and on TV and won several coveted funniest person in advertising, which brought no sash or cash. Honey is married to her best friend and business partner, Blaine, or as Honey's father referred to him, the man who took her off the market. In her spare time, Honey and Blaine run an ad agency, speak to small business owners around the globe about profitable branding, and co-host the weekly podcast, Couple Co., working with your spouse for fun and profit. As the most amateur of athletes, they've raced together in full and half marathons and triathlons. Honey, other accomplishments include being a performer at various Club Med locations around the world, sailing the North American Fireball Championships despite the fact that she cannot sail, and sparring with world female boxing champ, a feat which Honey is most proud of that she's neither bled or cried. You can find her at her website, Facebook, Instagram, and Amazon, and her book, Careful-ish, is out now. Welcome to the show, Honey. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me on your anniversary.
Yes. We went to Topgolf last night. It was they ran it beautifully. Like, they had separate things up, plexiglass, and the servers were all wearing masks, and we walked in with masks, and everybody was it was good. It was perfect weather here in San Antonio, so we were glad to get out of our house. And the kids were very happy to get out of the house and hit something that they could hit that was okay, like a lot of golf balls. So, yeah, but it was good. So how did you get into writing in the first place, like screenwriting or any kind of writing?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I started in advertising as an art director because I could always draw. That was my thing. But when I got into advertising, I really was kind of drawn to the writing side, and I was fortunate enough to be partnered with somebody who, he was a writer, and he let me kind of give it a go. I said, do you mind if I write these next few ads, if I take a shot at that? And he was way more senior than I was, and what a great mentor. And that's why I started writing. And then the contest, Funniest Person in Advertising, came up, and my friend said, you should really enter that. And I thought I should really enter that.
Yes,
and then
I will.
You get there and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I'd won my night, and I won the next night, and I won the whole thing, and I was written up in the New York Times, and I started to get invited to do private events, and that was kind of the beginning of my writing career.
And how long ago was that?
A long time ago. I
there
don't
you
know.
go. All right.
The year started with 19.
I have the hardest time with that, too. It's like, that was yeah, because sometimes I'll go 18. No, wait, that wasn't that long ago.
Well, that would have been amazing. It was 1990 something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you always a big reader with, because you've written the book, but I mean, and you've done screenplays, but was your love of storytelling through reading?
Sadly, no. I wish I could say it was. I actually had a challenge with reading, and I did not read a book. I literally did not read my first book until I was a freshman in college.
Wow.
And my sister used to,
or just like
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and my sister, we didn't know it.
Sure.
So my sister was like a book eater. She would go into her bedroom at night, and the next day it would be done. And I'm like, how does that happen? That's like a magic trick. And I couldn't even read Cliff Notes. That was too much for me. So I came to it late, and when I finally figured out how to read, I thought, this is amazing. And like every book was a trophy. I used to, like, I couldn't get rid of my books.
Right.
And I started with Michener.
Oh God, that's really jumping in the very deep end of the pool there.
I know, but I'm a huge Michener fan now.
Yeah, it reminds me of I don't know if you ever saw the remake of Born Yesterday. It was with John Goodman and Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson.
Of course, I did.
Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson. Yeah,
and I have seen the original as well.
Right. And so the moment when he gives her the book to read, about the government and all this is like super dry, and she's having to look up every other word because she's just so frustrated by it. I tell that my daughter's got dyslexia, and she's been very frustrated. She spoke a little bit later, and I kept thinking, something's up. She'd always flip words around. She'd say, "Turn it up, it's too loud." Those kind of things. And my husband and I are both in pediatrics, and so we're like, something's off, and it took forever, a lot of advocating to get her diagnosed. But yeah, I keep telling her that story and this person just kept trying, and finally, got a dictionary that sat next to her instead of her having to, because they're at the library in the scene, so she's having to get up and go to look it up. So yeah, it's like you just keep trying, you just keep finding what works for you.
And it's definitely frustrating for me writing a book, a novel, because I'm constantly stopping and looking things up, constantly. Yeah. And there are times where I'm just like, I'll deal with it later, just plow forward. But I remember you talking about signs that nobody picked up on. I played basketball in high school, and I remember we were in an away game, and it was between halves, and just everybody's got balls, and you're just throwing at hoops all over the place. And there were the hoops at either end of the court, and then there were two hoops on the sides of the court. But it was only on one side. And on the other side, there were bleachers with people. And I'm going to go and do this layup into this hoop because no one's there.
Right.
And I chucked the ball at the bleachers full of people. And the horror. Yeah, wrong
it's
side.
Like that slow motion. No.
Right. Once it left my hands, I realized what I had done.
Nice.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Oh, my. Yeah. Well, we're all get to be young and impulsive at one time or another.
But,
so,
I actually think it helped me with being able to speak in public and doing stand-up, because I would always opt to do an oral report in school.
Right.
Because somehow people thought that was harder. And I was like, really? Because I'm just talking. But okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually I've 4 kids. The 2 in the middle have dyslexia, and it's there have been times where they'll come up with, they have to write a report, and they're just looking at me like they would just rather pull other hair out with tweezers. And I am like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. You're going to tell me about this, and we're going to record it, and I'm going to send a video to your teacher. And because we've been doing virtual learning for a year, and there's still wine in my house, how I have no idea. I don't know how my liver's still working, but whatever. Yeah, so it's that thing of, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I still have them go through the basics and try. But writing is hard when you're 15, 12 or whatever, and then having to write it in a way that's cohesive and whatever. So yeah, I think the oral report is a big deal. It's definitely could be an option for a lot of kids, I'm sure, like you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like, please don't make me write this, or let's not do that one. So
yeah, it was awful.
And it's good for public speaking. I mean, you're going to have to talk to people eventually.
It's great for public speaking, and which leads to being able to think on your feet when somebody asks you a question, and that's fantastic.
Right. Body language and, but just being able to stand up in front of a group is huge.
Right. Reading the room, all that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're doing all this. You're in advertising. You're the funniest person. You're doing stand-up. And somewhere in this mix, well, you're very funny. You're doing all this stuff, and then you meet a guy. How did you meet your husband?
Well, I met him. I met him in my backyard. So they always say, you have to leave your backyard to meet somebody, which of course you don't.
You don't.
You don't. So he met me before I met him. My best friend, when I moved to LA, this woman just turned into my best friend in 2 seconds, Janet Murphy, and it was her birthday, and she had been so good to me, and she was having a party, and she hates the song Happy Birthday.
Okay.
And I thought, well, she deserves a song. So I got the music from Ain't Misbehavin', and I changed the words, and I did this song about her. And my now husband was there. But he had just broken up with his wife and was in a mood. And said something like, well, this is going to be stupid. And Janet said, shut up, this is for me. And he shut up, and apparently he was taken. And then he saw me I think I was performing at the Comedy Store in LA, and he saw me, and he kept emailing Janet, and so I knew he was interested. And then one day he was over, and we were both kind of hungover from different parties, and we sat under an avocado tree for hours and just talked. And I never dated anybody after that.
Yeah, it's interesting how that all falls, and it's nothing that you can actually explain without it sounding really trite. You just knew. You talked for hours, and people are like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, but really, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it in a way that doesn't sound, canon.
And I knew there was something different. And he had great hair. He has great hair. Which is fantastic. I mean, the best was how he met my parents, which was I was doing, so I had like a regular gig at the Comedy Store. I was there like every Wednesday. And my parents were coming out to visit from the East Coast, and so I knew they'd meet. Like, otherwise I wouldn't have introduced them. Why?
Sure.
And so I did my whole set about my parents, so everybody in the audience knew they were there. And my parents, who are represented in this book. And at the end of my set, I said, now what my folks don't know is the fellow I'm seeing is in the audience. We're all going to play a game called Guess Who Honey's Dating? And that's how they met him.
Nice. Was he in on that discussion before you said it?
Yeah. I wouldn't have thrown him under the bus like that. I asked if he was okay with it.
Yeah, the guy running for the door, that's him. Tackle him.
That would have been perfect.
Yeah. Everybody guess. Oh, it's the guy running. So tell me, a lot of people talk about performing at the Comedy Store. I mean, that's like a huge big deal, because it's not like you can just walk in and say, I'm funny, and they go, okay, can you work on Wednesday? I mean, there's an audition process, and how does that work? Well,
honestly, you kind of almost can, at least back when I was doing it. I found, because I had a manager, but what I had found was the easiest way to get on stage was to just show up.
Okay.
And just start talking to people, not to be a pest, but just be willing to ask. And, And I almost any stage I wanted to get on, I was able to just get on.
Yeah, just that persistence and just keep talking to people.
Yeah, exactly. And then once you know somebody and somebody's seen you perform someplace, and you know, one thing leads to another, and you kind of network. And so and so has a show, and it was a lot of that. Someone would run a show, and they would need X amount of people to fill their show. You know, whether it's 5 or 7 and so you start making friends with people and get invited to do more shows. And then once somebody knows that, okay, you can actually put it together, they invite you back.
Right. Wow. How big is the comedy club, the LA Comedy Club? Is it like a decent size, or small? Or?
Yeah.
I can't get a good idea from the pictures.
Well, the Comedy Store's got different rooms. You know, they've got their big room, they've got their upstairs room, and then they've got their side room downstairs that's like a good, like if you're there regularly, you're doing pretty okay. Yeah, the big room was big.
Okay. So if you ended up in the big room, it was a big deal, right? Versus, okay, you're going to have this closet with 4 people today. That's your room,
Yeah. I did a lot of closets. I performed a lot of closets.
There you go. Well, everybody starts somewhere, right? You got to work your way up and build a trust. So you're doing all this, and then you also have screenplays. What was the general genre that you wrote for screenplays?
We were mostly romantic comedy.
Okay.
Comedy, it just, makes sense for us.
Sure.
We were never too broad. It was all very kind of plausible. And we like stuff with heart. And one of our romantic comedies was kind of like an action romantic comedy. And, it was all, we did a team, all kinds of stuff. And that was with my husband.
Right. Did you pull from people's stories about meeting as the couples, like inspiration for the couples in the stories, or was it like from the headlines, or a mix, or what would be cool? That kind. Was it just brainstorming? How did you come about them?
It's always different. The very first thing we wrote together, Pam Wallace, who co-wrote the movie Witness, who actually wrote one of the blurbs on the back of my book. She knew my husband, Blaine, and she had an idea for kind of like an action comedy, and she asked him if he would write it because she doesn't do comedy. And he said, well, I'll write it if you don't mind if I write it with Honey. And we were just dating at the time, which I thought was a wacky thing for him to put forward because we'd never talked about working together. And so she said, fine. And we started writing it, and the story evolved, and it became a romantic comedy. We just put romance in everything. We just like when people hook up.
Sure.
So that's kind of how it started. She had this idea about something set in the rap industry, and it went from there, about somebody being falsely accused of something, and it took off.
Kind of a chase type romance.
Well, yeah, kind of like, did you ever see the film 48 Hours?
Yes.
Okay, so if there was romance in that, that's kind of the closest thing. If it wasn't
it was Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, right?
Comedy.
Yeah.
No, that was 48 Hours. This was, it was Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin.
Oh. That's right. Okay. Yeah.
And really funny. Probably funnier than ours, but there you go.
Well, it's interesting because people are like, oh, romance. But there are so many movies that are romances and people don't know it because stuff's blowing up, or, Red is an example of a romance. It's a major romance. The whole point of that movie is he wants to meet her and be with her. That's the whole motivation. And if that wasn't in there'd be no movie. But so much stuff is blowing up that people are like, yeah, it's an action comedy. It's like, really? It's an action romance. So just so you know.
I love an action romance.
Those are just a lot of fun, and the timing in it and everything was just so brilliant. And I know part of that was the delivery, but yeah, I think action romances are just so fun to watch for sure. And so we get to screenplays, and now we are talking about, now you have your first book. So what was the catalyst? You've written all this, you've done advertising and you've done screenplays, and now what is the catalyst to write this first book?
Well, really it was the pandemic.
Right.
So what happened was my husband and I have a weekly Zoom call, how very COVID, with friends of ours who are on the East Coast. And we were talking, every conversation, it would come up like these wacky things, these nutty things that people were doing during COVID to kind of get by. And like how the human animal has evolved and just the nutty things that we do. And I love human behavior. And one of the gals on the call who's connected to a major network said, you should write a sitcom. And I said, I should write a sitcom. So I wrote a pilot for Careful-ish in a day. And the next day I wrote an outline for the whole season. And typically I wouldn't have done that because I know that almost nothing ever gets made. But I had this one person with one connection, and I thought, why not? And so, of course, nothing happened. And about a week later, my husband said, you really should write it as a novel, because that way you don't have to wait for anybody to greenlight anything. At the end of the day, you will have something. It will exist in space, and you will have a novel. And I said, okay, I'll write a novel. And I must have been like a week or so into writing. And he said, by the way, it really needs to be at least a trilogy, because it's got to be a series. So I've actually finished the second book. It's being proofread now. But so it's a trilogy, and then there's also going to be a prequel and a novella.
Nice. So what is your timeline for all of these? So you've got Careful-ish out now, and then the next
Careful-ish is out now. I'm hoping the next book, which is Daughter of Careful-ish, will be available probably in about a month, maybe a little more than that. Later this year, I'm hoping the third book, which is Bride of Careful-ish, will be out, and I will be started on the prequel.
And too, it was with you writing it like this, people are always looking for new projects. So it wouldn't be unusual for someone to come to you and go, well, I've read it, it's got trilogy, we could make this something on TV or a series or a short, like I grew up with movies of the week, but you know what I mean? Like, you could do a story arc of it type thing, and it could all go on Netflix and people could binge it in 12 episodes or something, that kind of thing.
I mean, that's fine for that.
Yeah, no kidding. And I could say, I interviewed her way back when.
Oh, I'm going to tell everybody.
Y'all catch up. So when you're writing this book and you're writing about all these, what was the, cast of characters you came up with? Why that particular cast? Were those the ones that spoke to you the most? Were they based on people you knew? How'd that work?
So what I wanted to do, my thinking when I started the book was, and it's set in New York City, because I wanted everybody to really be on lockdown. Like here in Park City, Utah, I'm hiking a lot. There's a lot of outdoor things that I can still do, and I didn't want that to be available to these people. I really wanted to be them on lockdown, and so that's why the setting. And they're in their late 20s. I had been single in New York in my 20s, and there are a lot of stupid things that you do if you're single in New York, because they just seem fun, And so I wanted that. And then I wanted to cover a lot of different industries to see how COVID impacted people in different positions, like somebody, a restaurant worker, somebody in financial, somebody in the news, somebody who just worked retail, things, so I wanted that mix. I wanted a mix of ethnicities and income levels. And the reason all these very different people are friends is just because they knew each other in high school. And they weren't all great friends in high school, but there's just something about when you move to New York and you don't know anybody, and it's like, hey, there's Joe from biology class, and you just all of a sudden Joe's a great friend because you need to create your family, and so that's why they're together.
Cool. And were these based on people that I know a lot of times people are like, well, maybe, but I'm not saying.
It was interesting to me because I asked my husband when he was done, which character is most me? And the funny thing is most people get it wrong because I've got this character, Steph, who's Jewish, and her parents are 100% based on my parents. I made them a little more broad. But those are my folks because I love my folks and I have a great relationship with them, and somebody should have them. And she's Jewish, so everybody thinks that's me. But my husband knew right off that Kimmy, the Asian lesbian, is really me because she was totally commitment phobic and all of that, and very sarcastic, and so she's the closest to me of anybody. And I loved writing my parents into it, especially the conversations with Steph and her mother. That just kind of hits my heart. My mother passed away at the very beginning of COVID, April 5th. And so this just gave me more time to chat with her.
Yeah.
So.
I love that about characters and creating them because you get to put those aspects, those wonderful, quirky, positive or negative or whatever aspects of people you really care about into those characters, and they just keep going.
And I love quirks. And so, I collect quirks. I totally do. I make notes. When somebody does something kind of ridiculous and wonderful, I make a note to myself. I'm going to give it to somebody.
I mean, but people remember quirks. They don't remember that, your hair was flawless all the time, or you always had whatever. I mean, they remember the quirks. That's what is so fun.
That's the best stuff, and that makes the best stories.
Yeah,
because we're all kind of broken a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, one of the things my grandmother used to do is she grew up in the deep South, rural Mississippi, and she was orphaned by the time she was 5, and so she's living with a step grandmother, and so here she is. She's in her 70s, and we were looking for something, and we open up this drawer, this cabinet, and she's got all of these jars, like empty jars, and all of these lids. And then she has a whole drawer full of rubber bands. And we're just like, why do you have all this? And she's like, well, she would admit she could never figure out which lid matched the jar. But what she would do is she's like, well, I can't ever figure out, I can't ever get, the right lid. So she gets wax paper, puts it over the lid, over the opening of the jar, and then just adds rubber bands until a lid fits. And that's how she stores leftovers. And because if they never, you didn't have anything, so she'll clean wax paper. And at this point they're retired and they're comfortable financially, but she would not, don't throw that jar away. I mean, because it's just fear. But it almost got to the point when after she passed away, we're like, do any of these lids fit these jars? Like she just messed it up and not. So we were all on the floor like, okay, does this match? Does this look like? I mean, we're like literally like puzzling it. Like, okay, I don't know where these jars came. I mean, it was amazing to see.
What a great scene.
But it was one of those moments you're just like laughing at each other about it, and those wonderful quirks are just fabulous. And so, one of the things I really love about your book is, and one of the videos you put up, is someone wrote to you about the permission to laugh. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, that person in particular, so in addition to dealing with COVID like the rest of us, Also, she's in Napa, and with the most recent fires, pretty much lost everything. So devastation. And she got the book, and she crawled up in a chair one night and read the whole thing cover to cover. And she told me this. I was blown away. So she read the whole thing cover to cover and laughed out loud. And she said it was cleansing, and she just loved that she could laugh again.
Right.
And to me, laugh is, hope.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's one of those things that you're like, okay, maybe I'm drifting back to center a little bit, that I can not laugh hysterically, like in hysteria, like everything's falling apart, and just like one of those meltdowns
like
instead of
mad
crying.
Woman laughter.
Like like insert evil laugh here.
Right.
Yeah, it. I'm picturing Phoebe when she would, from Friends, just like, she was doing her evil laugh. But yeah, I think that's those moments of giving yourself permission. Like, she was allowing herself, and you gave her that catalyst. I mean, that had to be yeah.
That was amazing. It's one of the reasons that even though this happens during a relatively politically heated time, I don't get into politics. And not that I don't have opinions, but there are other people doing that, and that's not what this was about.
Right.
And so that actually became more challenging for me for the next book, but still am not embracing that. We're just living with people and our quirks and what's wonderful, and I am ruining their lives and making them solve it, but they will.
Break them apart, put them back together. Break them apart, put them back together. Yeah.
Yes.
Right, because nobody wants to see everything good. I mean, we know we want to see the middle. Like when it's all messed up, and what are they going to fix? How are they going to fix it?
Right, and you're never. Life is such a pendulum. One moment when something goes right, and you're like, oh my God, why did I ever worry about anything? It's great, and then something comes up and slaps you back down again, and
right,
and you've got to work your way back up. But that just, it keeps happening, and my 6 people have each other to kind of help each other work their way back.
I have talked to so many authors that have, of course, writing furiously, trying to, and it's been difficult in the pandemic and the political climate in the past several years. But how did you embrace that creativity? Did you just kind of cut everything out in the world and isolate, or mentally, or how did you pull into that creative space?
I think for me it was really cathartic. I had told myself, because I started writing this pretty much towards the beginning of the pandemic, that I was living in a writer's retreat. I created this fantasy for myself that this is where I was. And I've always been the kind of person that when I'm having a hard time, I get through it by making something.
Okay.
And so I just started writing, and I was averaging about 2,500 words a day. That's kind of my sweet spot. I've done 3,000 words a day, but it's not if I make that a requirement, it's a problem. If it happens, that's great.
Sure.
But that amount of writing and kind of disappearing into the world of these people every day, that kind of I really look forward to hanging out with them. They make me laugh. I mean, because they. No, I was going to say, you're a writer. Once you create these people, they start to make some decisions for themselves and tell you what they want to do, and so that was fun.
Yeah,
that was
funny.
I had one point.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's funny
at one
because
point
people
in the book
who
something
don't...
happened.
Yeah, you go. I'll be quiet. You go.
No, that's all right. Something happened between Kimmy and the Joy that I hadn't planned on, and I was like, well, you got yourselves into it. Here you go.
Right.
And so I just let it happen.
And then it's like, you all better tell me how to get out because, y'all got in.
Right.
So I don't want to be fighting, figuring out how to get you out. It's always interesting to talk to other writers, and it's just this beautiful, just like acceptance of, yes, we talk to imaginary people, and it's normal. It's totally fine. Or even like my daughter and I, she's starting to write, and we were joking about search histories on computers, and she writes, the more of a fantasy type thing, and so she was talking about it, and she looked at me a couple of days ago. She's like, "Do you know if you stick yogurt in a dead body, it'll decompose faster?" And I went, "Okay, I'm not even sure what to even do with that comment." And then we started thinking about how much yogurt you would have to put in a body, and then where would you and I'm just driving down this, like we're just going to her music lesson, and it's like, so what would you? I don't know. It's weird. So yeah.
Well, now I'm concerned because I eat a lot of yogurt.
Yeah, right. It's like, well, okay, but my understanding is that the body has to be dead, and I'm thinking, well, how do you get it in there? I mean, like, I don't even want to know. I'd not look up anything, but I mean, because it's just a rabbit hole I don't want to go down. But yeah, and I don't write crime, so I'm good. But yeah, it was very interesting. I have a friend who works in forensics. I'm actually going to write him and say, "Is this true?" And see if that's true.
My niece is going for a career in forensics. I should ask her if she knows this. She'll love it.
Yeah. There's actually, my understanding, and I've talked to some other friends this week. I promise you, nobody should be worried. But they have the body farm in Tennessee, where they see the levels of decomposition of bodies and such. But apparently, they've set one up near the border because the Texas border, because of the heat, and they were figuring out time of death and all this other stuff. And what they found out is they were seriously overestimating, because of the weather, that bodies decompose a lot faster, in these different climates. So it was very interesting to have this conversation the other day with other writers. It's like, oh, well, I didn't know that either, so good to know. All right. Wow. And so it was a very different topic from what we were discussing just a few minutes ago. And that's what happens. And that's what happens when you talk to writers. They just go on a tangent. So you've got
my husband and I are constantly, because he's a writer and he's constantly looking things up, and he's sharing like these crazy random facts with me, and I'm like, okay.
Right. Well, my husband's an engineer by trade, and then he's an MD, and so sometimes he's like, okay, wait. What are you talking about right now? I'm like, oh, hold on. Let me double back to where you lost me. But yeah, so we were talking about, you going into your mental space to read, to create, but you're creating your own escapism, so you could create escapism for others in this process.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, how did that feel when that book was in your hand, and then people started writing you saying, or calling you and saying, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for giving me this space to just like cut everything out"?
It was almost surreal, when you write a screenplay that gets bought and never gets made. It just is the creative exercise, and you enjoy writing it, and then that's it. And this kind of all of a sudden had a life, which you don't know. You're in a room, and your head's in your computer, and you're just writing, and who's going to read it? Maybe no one. And relatives were saying that people they knew were calling them and letting them know how much they loved the book. And then all of a sudden, people started taking their picture with the book.
Yes, I saw that.
And posting it. And I never asked anybody to do that, and that just started happening. When the gal in Napa told me how it helped her. I mean, I didn't know what to say. I almost cried.
Sure.
But yeah, it just blew me away. And how connected some people are to it, and they're worried, you know, what's going to happen if Jackson's parents come home and see what he did to the apartment, and you know, this and that, and they're concerned, and that just I'm blown away that people got that deep in. I love it.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, and I think too, it's just, you know, laughter and escapism is seriously undervalued, I think, in a lot of ways, because we just need it. You can't be serious all the time.
No, and I did a Zoom book club. I sat in our book club, and another gal who also lost her mom during COVID, and she came to the book club dressed as she imagined the Joy would dress, and she had this flowing chiffon. She had scarves over her lamp, and she was 100% in. And I thought, oh my
wow.
God, she dressed up like the character, and that's how much happiness. And her book was tabbed. She had tabs and notes all through the book, and she's like,
wow.
I love this saying. I'm going to use this saying, and I couldn't believe it. It was great.
Wow, I usually have seen people dress for like historical stuff, but like contemporary, that just sounds so much fun.
And then I felt like a slacker because I hadn't dressed up at all. You know, I had like jeans and a top on. I don't even know if I had shoes on. Probably not. I don't wear a lot of shoes now. But,
right. You know, what for?
You know,
that
was a ton of fun, and people love the Joy. I get so much feedback on her that that's been happy making.
So why the title Careful-ish? How did you come up with that title?
Because everybody, you know, it's that kind of shaming culture that we're in, where somebody feels like they're being careful and this other person isn't being careful, but we're all just kind of being careful-ish because we're being careful, except for we all kind of, well, yeah, but I do this thing, but that's okay because, and we, you know, excuse it away and rationalize it. And so we're all kind of careful-ish, and that's as close as we'll ever get. You know, like I do my hikes, and I have my mask with me, and when I see somebody coming close, I put my mask up, and I'm sure there's somebody who thinks, why are you even going out and taking a hike? That's not careful enough, and so I'm careful-ish.
Right. I mean, we're all trying to do the very best. It's just like as much as we can. But yeah, the people who are just like blatantly running through grocery stores screaming with no mask, you're like, really? You know?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's just madness to me. I mean, on one level, it's good comedy, but in general, it's just bad behavior. Don't do that.
Yeah, I don't quite understand it. It's just so juvenile and like petulant. I don't. This whole, you know, me, and it's like, yeah, but there's all these people standing here, and it's just not you. So
well, and I don't understand, like, would that person say, you can't force me to wear a seatbelt? You know, you're taking away my rights.
Right.
I don't know. It just kind of seems kooky to me. And you get that fun mask, which is another place to wear flair. You could do something zippy with it.
I do love the flair. I do. I have gotten some very cool masks. So they're good conversation starters, really.
They're great. I actually made myself a mask that's like from the cover of the book with a martini on it. You
did. I see it right here. So I will be ordering very quickly here. So those of you listening, if you go to honeyparkerbooks.com, and at the very top it says masks on the far right, and you can order a very cute mask, and one has got the book title and on it, and the other one's got a really cute little martini glass with olives in it. So, and if you read the book, you can laugh until olives come out of your nose. Correct?
Yeah, Mr. Parker wrote that. My husband wrote that.
It would hurt, but people would laugh. So probably not the person the olive came out of their nose.
And now I'm like, pitted or not pitted? What would be easier?
Well, and that reminds me, my daughter, when she was, she was about 2, I got a phone call from the preschool and said, Patricia, she stuck a rock up her nose. We can't get it out. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'll be right there. And so I got there, and she had stuck a smooth rock. And when she stuck it up there, and then she panicked, and she went, it like lodged up her nose. And so my husband being a pediatrician, I was like, okay, where do you want me to take her? He's like, well, bring her here. Let me see if I can get out. So he couldn't get it because it was smooth. So we called the ENT guy, and they were like, oh, we can only schedule you with a nurse practitioner. And my husband's like, fine, because he's like, I know what's going to happen. Nurse practitioner's going to see him and go, I need to get the doctor. So that's what happened. And they said, okay, we'll have to go to surgery to get this rock out of her nose. So it took 5 minutes at the most to get this rock out. And he walked out. He goes, do you want the rock? And I was like, I don't want the rock. And
no.
He walked out. He's like, I have to give you this rock. He said, that is the biggest damn rock I've ever seen any kid shove up their nose. And he gave it to me. We still have it, and we're going to make it a necklace for her because it was like this huge part of our deductible for that year. And we're like, and this is your graduation gift, this rock you stuck up your nose. So, ta-da. Yeah.
How old is she
so it's
now?
Ready. She's 15. She thinks the story's funny. But the only thing was that, yeah, she does. But the other part of that is she had stuck her arm through the chain link fence because it was pre-K, so you had like the ages divided up, and so she was reaching through to get to her sister. And then instead of just pulling her arm straight back, she wove it back and then wove it back again. So like she's woven into the chain link fence. And they had to call the the fire department to come out and like unroll the fence to get her out. And then
this is an expensive
when I sent her, yeah, she is, but she's worth it. She's cool. But then, when she went back for pre-K after the rock, they called me and they said, okay, Patricia, she stuck another rock up her nose. I was like, all right, I'll be right there. They're like, no, we got it out. I was like, all right, it's like whatever. Okay.
Wow.
You just kind of get to the point you're like, okay, sure. I'll just deal with it and whatever. I think it helped that I worked pediatric trauma before that. So I thought, rock up the nose? Sure. That's
so
good.
You've seen it a million times.
I've seen a lot, yeah. And so a rock up the nose, really not terrible. I mean, is it a crappy way to spend the afternoon? Absolutely. But in the grand scheme of things, like we're talking about, is it the worst thing? It is not. So it's all okay. But yeah. And that kind of leads us into what you're talking about with your blog post. It's like, what are you laughing at? And like these crazy things that we've come up with over this past year that are like hysterically funny now, where before we're like, I mean, what are some of the things that people have told you that they've found more funny now in the past year?
Oh, it's. I hear a lot about couples spending more time together because, Blaine and I you had mentioned we do a podcast, and we were traveling the country and interviewing couples in business together, and we've had so many people say to us, I could never work with my spouse. I can't spend that much time with my spouse. Well, guess what? You just spent that much time with your spouse.
You did.
And so it's like this transition of all the things about the spouse that used to make them crazy that they're now starting to embrace. Whether
cool.
It's just the random sounds that come out of your spouse.
Yeah.
You got to embrace it because now you're shut in with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and guys make noises that women just don't.
That's true.
But then, TMI, but I think I was with my husband, I think we were married 5 years before he ever heard anything come out of my lower half. And, now I don't care.
Right.
Just don't care.
You're just like, sure, whatever.
Yeah, there's certainly been a lot of, people laughing at food attempts. There's the sourdough thing was kind of nuts. How that, all of a sudden people were making sourdough and then naming their sourdough. That was like because I had posted something about that because my husband named his sourdough Bubbles. And names came out of the woodwork. People had all kinds of names for their sourdough. So that was strange. And then the people in the city and the conversations they would have, the fire escape conversations I love.
Yeah.
Because that's as close as you could get to somebody. And that whole embracing of that new world. And like in the book, there's a line of people that wait to get into the supermarket, and it's right below Kimmy and the Joys' brownstone window, and those conversations. And that was real, people just listening out the window and starting to get involved with people that just happen to be passing by.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know if people have gotten better at listening this past year and talking. I think that it's easy. I mean, there's times that you just, I've got to escape into, Netflix somewhere because I don't want to talk to people anymore in my house type thing. But I wonder too if more people have had just conversations, like talk to each other.
I mean, it's interesting because we all could have done Zoom conversations at any time, and there have been conference programs, platforms that we could use. But all of a sudden, because that's there, certain things have come up. Like my dad's been by himself in a house in New Jersey, and we created this teeny little book club of him and my husband and a friend of mine in Los Angeles. And that became a thing. And our friends in New Hampshire that we talk to every week. And I was just talking to a girlfriend, and she's got her weekly family calls. Well, she could have gotten on the phone with her family every week before this, but she didn't.
Right.
And now they do, and they share stuff, and they share old pictures, and they celebrate different things that have happened, and it's kind of wonderful.
Yeah. That connection, you're right, because it's like we could have done this the whole time, and I guess people are like, no, I'll come over, I'll see you next week, I'll blah blah blah, we'll get together, and it's this idea of but why not just every Sunday or whatever to just talk to each other and check in, and it's a big deal.
And I think people are saying things a little bit more like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And actually wanting to hear something besides the word I'm fine. I'm fine. Like
right.
But so for unfortunate reasons, some good things have happened.
I've really loved people posting videos about I think it was in Spain, there was trying to get people to exercise, and of course, they were on lockdown at the time, and there was a fitness instructor that was on the roof of the building, and you saw all the windows and the patios and whatever for the apartments, and he was out there like getting people to exercise on their patio. So he's like in the middle, and all these different things that people were doing, like playing their musical instruments, and people would run in and get their guitars, or when like you're saying, that sense of connection to others.
Somebody had sent me info because I had come up with in the book. There's a marathon in place where people are running, but they're in their own locations. They don't leave their location.
Right.
And then somebody sent me an article of that actually happening. Like after I had written that, somebody actually did that, which I thought was great. Because it is a way to connect with people and do something.
Oh, for sure. I think that human connection, people will find a way. They will adapt, and they will find a way.
Well, it wasn't that Jurassic Park, Life Will Find a Way.
Right. No, Jeff Goldblum did not narrate that for me.
But now I'm just thinking, he was back in the movie The Right Stuff, played an entirely different nerdy science character. But anyway,
right.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a way to laugh, always.
Yes.
And it's worth it.
Right. Yeah, everything doesn't have to be, high octane, survival mode. Sometimes survival is giving yourself permission to laugh, or even to just cry uncontrollably, or laughter through tears. Was it Dolly Parton says, "Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion"? That's from Steel Magnolias.
I love Dolly Parton, just by the way.
Yes.
I'm looking at a mug with her face on it right now.
She is
just great.
Just beyond. Yeah. Have you seen that those two kids, they're called twins, is the new trend?
Yes.
And they're these.
Yes.
Yeah. And did you see the one
and
they did with Dolly
listen to
Parton?
Jolene?
Yeah.
I love that. And it is, that riff in the beginning of Jolene is just pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. I love her. And, I've watched Moonstruck I don't know how many times during the pandemic just to laugh. There's just good people to hang out with. I went down a Dolly Parton rabbit hole, watched every video I could find about her. And that took me to the Cher rabbit hole.
Right.
Then I had to watch Moonstruck, yeah.
Right. Yeah, you just kind of keep adding on, for sure. We watched one of the things I was showing my kids, well, my older two, not my younger, but Drunk History did one about Dolly Parton, about how she, was on the Porter Wagner show and left, and everything. It was a fun, yeah.
I didn't realize that she had written the song "I Will Always Love You."
Yeah. For
Porter Wagner.
Right.
Because that's when she left him, and she wrote that song, saying that she's leaving, but so much grace.
Yes.
Just and I think that one of the reasons that everybody loves her is because she just everything is positive and with grace and not saying anything negative about somebody else. It's just wonderful.
Well, and I think she's done it in a way. One of the funniest things I've heard her say was someone asked her about 5 or 6 years ago if she believed in same-sex marriages. And she said, "Of course I do. They should get to be as miserable as the rest of us who've been married for years." It's one of those moments of she balanced that response so beautifully. But yeah, it's you're right. She just finds a positive twist to it. And she says she's flawed. I mean, she's not like she's walking around saying how great she is. But yeah, it's just this really true appreciation of her own humanity. So she's fabulous. Just fabulous.
And a crazy talent. Just a crazy talent.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard her sing "I Will Always Love You," because I didn't watch the Porter Wagner show, but my mom took me to see the best little whorehouse in Texas. I think I was 8th grade. It was Texas. It's a Texas history thing, so we're here, so we got to go see it. Anyway, she sang that song in that movie, and
that's where
okay.
I knew the song from. Yeah.
Right, and then she made a comment years later that she got to put some money in the bank when she sang it initially, and then when Whitney Houston sang it, she got to buy the bank.
Yeah. I was first aware of her first song that I remember was "Here You Come Again."
Oh, what a great song.
Which I think was her first kind of crossover song, out of country music. And,
right.
I was a little kid in Philly trying to sound like Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Singing "Here You Come Again."
Well, I think I just drive down the road sometimes and just blast it. I'm sure my kids are in the car when I do it. It's mine. It's just this is my moment that I get to scream this song. So it's a great song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, honey. Will you come back when you have your next book out?
I would love to. Absolutely love to.
Yay! Well, maybe at some point we can sit across from each other and share cocktail recipes and not have olives come out our nose.
Well, wouldn't that be
nice? But still laugh just the same.
I think that should happen.
That should happen. Well, if you've been listening, I've been talking to Honey Parker. Her book, Careful-ish, is out now. You can find it on Amazon, and you can go to her website, Facebook, and Instagram to follow her for all her latest and greatest posts. Thanks so much for listening here on Readers Entertainment Radio. This is Patricia W. Fisher. Keep on reading, everybody.
This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions. www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.